In 1944, the US dollar was crowned king of the global economy through the Bretton Woods Agreement. Nearly 80 years later, BRICS is trying to dethrone it, and Washington is panicking. Trump has responded with a 100% tariff threat, trying to force BRICS nations to remain tied to the dollar. But instead of backing down, BRICS is doubling down on its plan to ditch the greenback and create a new financial order. This isn't just a trade dispute, it's an all-out battle for financial independence, one that could reshape the global economy forever. So, can BRICS succeed in its rebellion against the dollar, or will Trump's threats push them into submission? Let's find out. At the heart of this latest controversy is BRICS's growing push to settle trade in local currencies instead of the US dollar. The 2025 statement, issued under Brazil's chairmanship, reinforced the alliance's stance on financial independence. The document emphasized the need for economic reforms that would reduce dependency on Western financial institutions and strengthen BRICS-led initiatives such as the new development bank NDB. This bank, often referred to as the BRICS Bank, has already been instrumental in funding projects in local currencies, an essential step toward bypassing the dollar. Brazil's role in leading this movement is particularly significant. President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has been vocal about the disadvantages of a dollar-dominated global economy. He has long advocated for alternatives that would give developing nations more control over their financial policies, rather than being at the mercy of Washington's economic decisions. Over the past few years, China and Russia have already begun settling trade agreements in yuan and rubles, while India and the UAE have signed historic deals to conduct oil transactions in rupees instead of the dollar. This momentum toward de-dollarization is not just about trade. It is about reducing vulnerability to US sanctions. For years, the US has used its control over the global financial system to impose economic restrictions on nations that defy its policies. Russia, for example, has been heavily sanctioned following geopolitical tensions with the West, and China has faced economic pressure in various trade disputes. By moving away from the dollar, BRICS nations aim to protect themselves from such financial weaponization. The de-dollarization strategy is, in many ways, an attempt to create an economic shield against the influence of Washington. Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Africa's geopolitics, economy, and changing landscape. Let's continue now. Donald Trump has made it clear that he sees BRICS de-dollarization efforts as a direct threat to US financial supremacy. His warning of 100% tariffs on BRICS nations that abandon the dollar is an aggressive move to maintain control over global trade. Trump has always been a strong advocate for the dollar's dominance, repeatedly stating that if the US loses its grip on global finance, it would be equivalent to losing a war. This statement is not an exaggeration. The global demand for the US dollar is what allows the US government to print money without severe inflationary consequences. The fear in Washington is that if BRICS successfully de-dollarizes, demand for the US dollar will decline, leading to economic instability. The US relies on countries using its currency for trade because it ensures consistent demand for US Treasury bonds, which helps keep interest rates low and sustains the American economy. A shift away from the dollar could weaken its value and limit the US government's ability to fund its deficits through international borrowing. For Trump, imposing tariffs is an attempt to pressure BRICS into backing down. A 100% tariff would make goods from BRICS nations significantly more expensive in the US, which could hurt their economies. However, BRICS leaders appear to be calling Trump's bluff, showing no signs of slowing down their de-dollarization efforts. The alliance understands that while the US remains a significant trading partner, it is no longer the only major player in the global economy. China, in particular, has stepped up as an alternative economic powerhouse, providing BRICS with trade opportunities that do not depend on the US. The big question now is whether BRICS will continue to push forward with de-dollarization despite Trump's threats. If BRICS remains committed to reducing its reliance on the dollar, the global financial order could shift in ways that challenge US dominance. Countries that have long been forced to use the dollar may begin turning to alternative systems, gradually diminishing Washington's economic leverage. This would not happen overnight, but the long-term impact could be profound. If Trump follows through with his 100% tariff threat, a trade war could erupt, disrupting economic ties between BRICS nations and the US. While some BRICS countries, such as Brazil and India, have strong economic relationships with the US, they also recognize the risks of over-reliance on Washington's financial system. A trade war would certainly be painful, but it could also push BRICS nations to strengthen economic partnerships with each other and other emerging markets. In this scenario, the US may end up isolating itself from the new financial systems that BRICS is building. Another possibility is that BRICS may slow down its de-dollarization efforts to avoid an immediate confrontation with the US. Instead of outright rejecting the dollar, they could gradually shift trade agreements while strengthening financial institutions such as the BRICS Bank. This strategy would allow them to achieve financial independence over time without triggering an aggressive response from Washington. However, given BRICS' strong stance in its 2025 statement, it seems unlikely that the alliance will fully retreat. Here, an important question is, are Trump threats even justified? The world is no longer the post-World War II landscape where the US dictated the rules of global finance. Today, economies are more interconnected than ever, and financial power is shifting toward emerging markets. At its core, Trump's threats assume that the US has the authority to control how other nations conduct trade. But in an era that claims to champion free markets and national sovereignty, his approach contradicts these very principles. BRICS nations are not breaking international law. They are simply choosing to use their currencies for trade rather than the US dollar. If the US truly believes in an open global economy, why should it have the power to dictate which currency other sovereign nations use? Another flaw in Trump's logic is that de-dollarization is not an attack on the US. It is an economic strategy by BRICS to secure financial stability and self-reliance. The global economy has long been vulnerable to US monetary policy, with nations suffering the consequences of decisions made in Washington. When the Federal Reserve raises interest rates, developing economies feel the shockwaves through capital outflows and currency depreciation. By reducing their dependence on the dollar, BRICS is simply mitigating risk, a move that any responsible economic alliance would consider. Moreover, if the US government can print trillions of dollars at will to fund its economy while expecting other nations to continue using the dollar regardless of its declining value, is that not economic coercion? Trump's threats reveal a double standard. America wants the freedom to control its financial system, but denies that same right to others. If the US can prioritize its economic interests, why shouldn't BRICS? Trump's tariff threats also contradict basic principles of capitalism. The free market is supposed to operate on competition, not force. If the US dollar is truly the best global currency, then it should not need government-backed threats to maintain its dominance. If BRICS countries find better trade options using local currencies, they should be free to explore them. After all, isn't that how a competitive global economy is supposed to work? The idea of a unipolar financial world is outdated. The rise of China, the economic expansion of BRICS, and the diversification of trade markets signal a new multipolar world order, where no single nation has a monopoly over the financial system. Trump's threats ignore this reality, treating the global economy as if it still revolves around US supremacy. But times are changing, and BRICS is proving that financial independence is not an act of defiance. It is simply a necessary evolution in a world that no longer belongs to just one superpower. So, should Trump impose harsh tariffs just because BRICS is making independent financial choices? The short answer, no. Sovereign nations should not be bullied into economic submission for exercising their right to control their trade. The US may not like it, but the world does not belong to Washington alone. The sooner America recognizes this shift, the better it can adapt to the new financial landscape, before it finds itself fighting a losing battle against the future. So, in the end, the BRICS alliance has sent a clear message. It is moving forward with de-dollarization, no matter the opposition. Trump, in response, has issued his strongest warning yet, threatening severe tariffs if BRICS refuses to comply. This economic standoff is shaping up to be one of the most significant financial battles in recent history, with both sides determined to defend their positions. If BRICS succeeds, it will mark the beginning of a new era in global trade, where the US dollar is no longer the default currency. If Trump's threats prove effective, BRICS nations may be forced to reconsider their strategy and find alternative ways to gain financial independence. The outcome of this battle will have lasting consequences, not just for BRICS and the US, but for the entire global financial system. As the world watches, the question remains: will BRICS break free from US financial control, or will Trump's warnings force them back in line? The next chapter in this financial power struggle is about to unfold, and its impact will be felt across the global economy. Do you think Trump needs to make better choices? Let us know in the comment section. Should the US try to control everyone? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: African politics, the economy, and increasing power. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.
Tell us what you think in the comment section. Like and share the video, and subscribe so that you don't miss any of our African videos. It's the best way to support us.